Why must this be their brand that they stick to? I mean, I hear you, don't get me wrong, but like, you do realize that they're probably the most successful sports team since 2017 across any of the major four North American sports, and they're still like 5 games up in the division with a month left. Nah, shut up, it's all burning to the ground. Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to talk about the past week for the Houston Astros, where they sweep the Kansas City Royals and then get swept by the Cincinnati Reds. And if you can't say on brand, you really should try, because dear God, they have a brand that they stick to like crap on Velcro. And overall, I'm pretty okay with it. Like, yes, it sucks that they did get swept by the Reds. That was their only reprieve during this time. Do think it's pretty funny that they've done more than hold their own against good teams, and yet it's the Reds that sweep them, but you know, coup de grace, I guess, or c'est la vie. Coup de grace, jeez Louise. I've said this earlier in the season, and I'll say it again. When the offense just has a week where they kind of suck, it's far less that I'm, like, concerned or worried about the offense, and a lot more, well, that's frustrating. Like, it doesn't... I'm not nervous that Jose Altuve forgot how to hit. I'm not concerned of, oh man, did Bregman just start to be a terrible player after years upon years of proof to the contrary? Or insert any of the generational players that they have on this roster that I'm like, what if they just, like, I don't know, dropped a coconut on their head and forgot how to play the sport of baseball? That's not a concern. Like, I don't think that. And so when the pitching overall has a very good week, with a couple of slight bumps in the road, and the offense is kind of mid, I can live with it. Pitching, by and large, for the week was great. They go 4-3. They do get the sweep, obviously. And I am aware that they lost today. And maybe it's like this weird sense of zen that I've found with the Astros as of late. 1-0 losses just kind of don't make me upset anymore. Like, they really do stink. They really are disheartening. But, like, that's a toss-up. And I really have gotten into that mindset with this team. The regular season is just the 162 participation trophies that this team has to play before they get to play the games that matter. And to mix sports, I think of the Astros very, very similarly to how everyone kind of views the Tampa Bay Lightning, where for 82 games, they really couldn't care less of where they land. They care once the season ticks over to the postseason, and then they kind of crack their knuckles, lean up in their gaming chair, and start making everyone hate their lives. This past year aside, obviously, where, you know, they kind of were a doormat to the Florida Panthers. But when the Lightning were, you know, a monster, like, this is going to be one of the boldest things I've ever said, and God, it just could come back to bite me so hard. But, like, look me in, do you genuinely believe that in the month of October, the Astros are going to lose a game, an important game, nonetheless, 1-0? Like, if, I'm not saying they're not going to get shut out, but I'm saying if the Astros pitching staff can pitch a gem, where against one of the toasts of the American League, whether it is the Royals, whether it is the Twins, or the Guardians, almost said the funny one, or Baltimore, the Yankees, or whoever comes out of the National League, do you really think if the pitching staff can give them a gem of a one-run performance, do you think the offense is going to get shut out? And you might say yes, and you might say yes because you're in a clear headspace and you just have that fear, or out of frustration. I just don't think that's going to happen. They might get shut out, but I think those shutouts are going to come in games where they just kind of mentally check out because it's, you know, 5-6-0 by the third inning. It's not impossible. They've been shut out a lot of times in the postseason. We've watched them. We've streamed them together. But I just don't envision a game where a 1-0 game doesn't go their way. You know why I don't think that? Because the last time they played a 1-0 game, if I remember correctly, in the postseason, it was against the Mariners. It went 18 innings, and then they won, sweeping the Mariners to do so. And so for that reason, I'm kind of willing to just say, you know, this sucks, but it's not pressing for me. They have done enough now to give themselves a nice little bit of breathing room in the division. They still need to make sure they don't goof it up, because getting swept by the Reds kind of affects that. But I am more than willing to be like, you know, just make it. And if you can make it with home field through the first round, even better. This week was not shining for the offense, and we all can very clearly see that. But for a pitching staff standpoint, there's so much positive. Hunter Brown was magnificent this week. He went 12 and 2/3, gave up no earned runs, only 2 runs in total, but no earned runs, and picked up 10 Ks. He was dynamite this week. Hunter Brown has really come into his own this season, and it's been at a very important time. Arrighetti pitched. It was not good, which is the follow-up to that statement. But following his run in August, I'm willing to be like, call it a blip on the radar. Verlander also, around the not good things, is becoming a large concern / issue, because it's yet another game where it's not just that he's not terrible, and that's a problem, right? Because if he was terrible, we could kind of just throw our hands up and say lost money and throw him in the bullpen. But, like, he's competent enough that he's getting deeper into games. Like, obviously, you can't let a pitcher who gives up 9 runs in the first inning get out of the first inning. That's out of the question. Verlander's just bad enough that he's losing games, he's giving up a lot of runs, but he's getting to, like, the 4th inning before the implosion happens. Or before the implosion totally happens. Like, it was 2 runs through 4 innings, which is like, that's not the best, but, like, he's out there grinding through innings, and then the 3 runs in the 5th come, and you're like, oh, okay, no, that's really bad. Pull on collar type of beat. And that's an issue, because, like, I mean this in the nicest way possible, and I've said many a time, Verlander is probably my favorite pitcher of all time. He's one of my favorites. I love him so dearly. And the thing is, I can see October 3rd or October 4th rolling around, and this team being like, all right, Game 3 of a wild card series, ball's yours, Justin, and I don't know that I feel comfortable with that right now. I'm going to be so honest, and we're going to talk about who I probably would be more comfortable with in a second, but we'll get there when we get there. Brighter side, Blanco had a solid game. It wasn't beautiful for underlying numbers, but 5 scoreless in the run he's been having is great. We're going to ignore the 4 walks to 3 strikeouts and just move on with our lives because it was 5 scoreless innings, and I'm not going to complain right now. Framber almost did the funniest thing again. When he did it earlier in the season and got to 1 out away, I said he's the player that's just going to magically end up with like 3 or 4 no-hitters. And, he almost did it. Like, overall, he has had 8 2/3 scoreless innings in a row to start a game this season, and out into the 7th with a no-hitter. Sadly, they almost lost it. They almost lost the game. Altuve had hit a walk-off in that game, by the way, which is insane. Also, the week where I'm saying Altuve wasn't noteworthy, he hit a walk-off. It's really entertaining. I just need to put that out there in the world. But Framber was great, and it wasn't just great in terms of like, oh, well, what were the... No, underlying was really good. Picked up 7 Ks. Nothing bad to say about it. Kind of becoming a Framber truther, which is wild, because maybe I'm just a contrarian with Framber Valdez, because when everyone was super high on him, I wasn't, and now I'm like, man, this Framber Valdez fella sure is good. And not that I don't think that's where a lot of people are, but it's like, I've come magically full circle with Framber Valdez. I've lived a weird life on this channel. Anyway, continuing on. I will take a very tasteful victory lap with Yusei Kikuchi. Because I did not say that he was going to come in, and this is why it's tasteful, that he was going to come in and be dominating. That he was going to come in and be one of the best pitchers since that date. Not just on the team, but in general. Which, going to tell you in a second, but, pretty convincing for that. But what I did say is people need to chill out, because they were losing their mind saying this is one of the worst trades in franchise history. It was the worst trade in franchise history, was a very popular thing to say. And I just kind of said, no, chill. Like, first off, saying that before he had pitched a game was insane. Secondly, viewing trades in terms of who got the better player in that moment, or 3 years from then, is dumb. Especially deadline day trades. That's really, really stupid. And It's because the Astros' goal when they make a big trade, when they traded for Garrett Cole, I'll use that as a perfect example. Obviously, you're trading for him, in terms of, yeah, I hope that he helps us win in the postseason. But that's trading for a player. That is, you are taking the good, you are taking the bad, you are taking the everything, and you're taking him for a while. A Yusei Kikuchi trade is, we need this thing right now if we are going to go into the postseason and are going to win a World Series. Your goal with any trade, obviously, is to win, but especially with deadline trades, the biggest thing is we are getting him specifically for them to play a part in winning the World Series. And I talked about trades the Astros had made in the past with different players that, other teams definitely won the trades if you just look at it as who got the better player out of it. The Trey Mancini and Jose Siri trade is a perfect example of that. Now, not that Jose Siri went on to be a all-star caliber player, but he's been solid in Tampa. He's been their starter for a couple years. Trey Mancini couldn't beat out old man Yuli and kind of just rode the bench for the postseason. He had one hit in that month for that postseason run. But he made a really big, important play and contributed to them winning that World Series. And if you ask them again, would you redo that? I do not think the Astros would redo that trade under any circumstances. The Yusei Kikuchi trade was made specifically with this October in mind. And right now, if you ask me, who do you want to start an important game? Who do I want to start at the Game 3 of the Wild Card Series? Or Game 2 if it's super high leverage. If you can close it out, or if you're fighting for your life in Game 2. Who do I want to start Game 5 of the ALDS, or a pivotal Game 5 in the CS, or World Series even? Or, if it shakes out that way, who would I want starting Game 7? And right now, at this moment in time, if I look up and down the roster and I had to pick someone to start a Game 7, I'm picking Yusei Kikuchi. I don't think there's a question. He's looked unreal since he got to Houston. In 35 innings, he has a 2.57 ERA. That's incredible. That was Verlander winning the Cy Young in 2019 level ERA. Obviously, it's a very different sample size. But the numbers that really get me going, he's got a 9.4 whip. Or a .94 whip, pardon me. Decimal point in the wrong spot there, bucko. He's got 47 strikeouts in 35 innings. He's not just pitching well. He's not getting lucky. He's not having performances where the FIP number... He's pitching like an ace. He's pitching like a superstar. And he's pitching beyond that with a sense of zen, with a sense of calm. There have been so many pitchers, and even the great ones, even when Cole was here, even when Verlander was in his prime, that I could get very worked up and very nervous. And we don't need to go far past that to get to players that would make everyone nervous. One of them I love very dearly. But with Yusei Kikuchi, he just has almost a Greinke mentality, where you just kind of relax when you see him take the mound. And to this point, as an Astro, why wouldn't you have that mentality with Yusei Kikuchi? He's been incredible. He might be the best pitcher on this staff since that trade. And right now, rolling into the postseason, there is not a pitcher on this staff that I would feel more comfortable with in a high-leverage situation than Yusei Kikuchi. And I'm taking a subtle, tasteful victory lap because I said I want to see how this plays out. And I want to see what his time with the Astros look like. And so far, we're not to the postseason yet. But I feel very confident going into it with Yusei Kikuchi on this team. And I feel very confident with him being a starter in important games. Which is something I don't even think I was thinking would happen, but that I hoped and said we need to wait and see for back when that trade came to fruition. So the Astros are going to take on the Diamondbacks now back at Minute Maid Park for 3 games over the weekend before then finishing their second to last homestand with 3 games against the Oakland Athletics. And this is a incredibly tough thing to talk about and to tell you guys. The Diamondbacks series is going to get a video, and same with the Oakland series. There's no question. They're both going to get their own videos. But then we're going to go into a funny little question mark for a month. Because I found out today officially that I'm going to be going on a really exciting work trip for a month up in noted not Florida, but Michigan. And I will be gone from the 15th of this month through the 13th of next. And I would once again, this was news that I found out was confirmed without a shadow of a doubt today. And I am equal parts excited, but also very deeply saddened that the videos are going to become possibly even more scarce. My goal is to do a video for every series when I'm up there. Or at the very least once a week, which is how it's been the past couple of weeks. And I know it's rough. I know there have been a lot of comments. I miss you guys just as much. And I love doing this, and I'm not going to leave it. I refuse to be done with this, because the community that we have and the friendships that we have built through these videos, I'm just not ever going to part ways with. But videos are going to be scarce to possibly, and I really hope this isn't the case, but very, very slim during that time. But before I leave, I do promise that there will be 2 more Astros videos. And, I mean, listen, I have a brand that I do need to stick to. The Jets are getting a video. There's no way around it. I have to make a video at least talking about the first game for them. And after that, we're going to play it by ear. As for right now, that is all I have to say. So thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Astros.